Kadosh, Boker Or, Masechet Kiddushin Daf Daled Amud Aleph. Says Daf Daled Amud Aleph. Shakadosh Baruch Hu Yair Enenu. Yeah, he comes and he says this. Vehadelo Damya Hay Letzia Lehay Yetzia. 481 says the Gemara. 1 second. The Yetzia of the daughter coming out of the reshut of her father in the Rusim is not domeh to the Yetzia of the Ma'ivriya, that she becomes a Na'ara because she already has Simanei Na'arut, which means that now she becomes a woman, right? And because she has this puberty and everything, now all of a sudden she's going to go free. So therefore it's going to be different. Why? Hatam nafkala mereshut adon legamre. When she comes out from her, the master, right? She goes out completely gamarnu. There's no shayachut. There's no connection between the master and her. She goes out 100% free. Hacha, to do it over here, to do the na'arut of the father through kiddushin, akati michsira mesira l'chuppah. She still needs the chuppah. What does that mean? You have a girl, right? What was the first step? Kiddushin. What is kiddushin? Money. Who does the money go to? The father. Where does she still live in between? In the father's house. When did she go to the husband? Through chuppah. So he comes and he says, you cannot compare Yitzia la Yitzia. The Yitzia, when a woman's an Ama Ivriya, she was married, right? Sorry, she was not married. She was bought as an Ama Ivriya. The second she becomes a Na'ara, she has puberty, she's completely free. You're going to ask her, are you attached with any strings to your... Are you going right to the master? The answer is, you're not attached, nothing. She comes out free, scot-free, completely. There's nothing, no connection. When she comes and she gets kiddushin from her husband, that money goes to her father. There's no yitzia really. Why? She's still in the father's house. When does she leave the father's house? When it's mesira l'chuppah. So therefore, you can't compare the yitzia by Yamei Vriya to the yitzia of the father of the kiddushin. So answers the Gemara, be'afarat nedarim miha nafkala milshuten. No. She does go out of the property of the father. You know how she goes out of the property of the father? To do with hafarat nedarim. Tetrambas, we learned in Mishnah nedarim, na'ara meorasa, avia u'ba'ala. What does it mean? Now it's the father and the husband that they do it. And therefore, when we come and we say the drasha of en kasef, which means that the master does not go and get this, is because it's even in a root, but there is kasef to the father of Kiddushe Bito and Ne'arah. Okay, why? Because at the end of the day, there is a Yitziat, a bat, right, from this Yitzia. I mean, there does exist such a concept of a Yitzia, but it's not exclusivity anymore, just to the father. It's the father and the husband. So says the Gemara, are you going to tell me that the concept of Yatziach Chinam and Kasef comes to teach you to do with the money of Kiddushin? We need it for something else. And if we need it for something else, so you can't use it for this. So what do you need it for? The Tanya, that which we learned in a Braita. The Tanya we learned in a Braita, V'yatseach chinam. What does it mean, V'yatseach chinam? It says, you know what V'yatseach chinam means? Elu yemei bagrut. These are the days of the bagrut. What does that mean? 6 months after, from 12 to 12 and a half, she's a na'ara. Remember, before bat mitzvah, she's a ktana. Ktana, once she becomes bat mitzvah, she's a gdola. But even though she's a gdola, she's called a na'ara. The na'ara is from 12 to 12 and a half, 12 to 12 and a half, 12 and a half onwards, she's called a bogeret. It's a different stage. So comes now the Gemara and says, when it says v'yatzeach chinam, elu yimei bagrut, what does that mean? When she becomes the yimei na'arut, there she becomes out, she's chinam, there's no reshut adom. But then when we say el en kasef, elu yimei na'arut, which means like this. When it comes and it says v'yatzeach chinam was teaching you that when she's a bogeret, she goes out free. When she's a bogeret, how do you know she goes out when she's a nara? En kasef. Meaning, Yatseach Chinam teaches you one stage of her life. En kasef teaches you another stage of her life. So therefore, if you need Yatseach Chinam en kasef to teach you that even a nara is going to go out free by an Ama Ivriya, and that's what we're talking about, Ama Ivriya, so then how do you know that Yatseach Chinam en kasef teaches you that the money of the Kiddushin goes to the father? It wasn't talking about that. Yatseach Chinam and Kasef was teaching you that a woman goes free by Yama Ivriya, Yatseach Chinam teaches you will get it, and Kasef teaches you anara. So if I needed it for something else, I cannot use it for the money of Kiddushin, and it goes to the father. So Amar Ravina comes and he says, "In ken if so, lema kra in Kasef." The pasuk should have said en Kasef without a yod. My en Kasef. Why did I add the yod? Why the extra yod? Why am I adding the extra yod? It says she'en kesef le'adon zeh, aval yesh kesef, right, le'adon acher. There is no money for this master, but there is money for another master. And who is that? The father. Right, the father. Without the yod? No, that's a question. The question is, why don't you write it without the yod? Right? So he comes and he says the extra yod is coming to teach you that there's no money to one, but there is a money to another. Because you could write en without a yod. Ankasif. Right? Without the yod. The fact that you added the yod is teaching you that there's no money to this one. But there is a yod. No, but that means we're adding it. If you didn't need it, if you don't need it, so you could have written it without it. The fact that you added it, so therefore it's coming en kasef. Yeah? Yes. Okay? Fine. So says the Gemara, right? Says the Gemara, listen carefully. Says the Gemara, how do you know that we're going to be able to make a drasha because of an extra yod? Yeah, if you just pay attention, right? Write it down. Yeah, write it down and you just pay attention. You'll see it. How do you know because of an extra yod you can make such a dirasha? So it says the Gemara, to tell you, we learned in a Braita. The pasuk says, "Vezera en la, v'shava el bet avia kirulea." What does that mean? You have a bat kohen, daughter of a kohen. She became widowed or divorced from her husband, a Yisrael. If she's a bat kohen, she gets married to Yisrael. She can eat truma. No, she got married to Yisrael. She got widowed or divorced. Says the pasuk, "Vezera en la." If she doesn't have children, then shava el bet avia kirulea. Then she can. So what does that mean? So says the Gemara, "En li elazara." That is going to be that she has children from the Israel that is going to disqualify her from truma bevet avia. Zera zara minayin. How do we know that even if she has a neched, also it's going to be poselota, that she is going to be prohibited to eat truma? Tamulomar comes to teach you the zera en la. What is en? En is written maleh. It's written full. Ayen la. What does that mean? That means even though, right, it's written, which means we're going to be doresh instead of an aleph, like an ayin. What is an ayin? Ayen la. Ayen la means, right, that you're going to be me'ayen, which means ayenim yesh la zera at all or not. Check if bichlal she has zera or not, or even zera zara, and therefore that's what's going to allow her whether to eat the truma or not. So you see from here that the extra yod is teaching you, we're making a dirasha because of the yod. Look what a dirasha, that even zera zara is going to be poselotam truma. So here you have an extra yod that's going to come and it's going to teach us this halacha. So says the Gemara, ve'en li ela zera kasher. But he comes and he says, this is only going to be a kosher child. Zera pasul minayin. What happens if the neched is a mamzer that she has from him? How do we know that it's also going to be posel from eating truma? Meaning, I would have thought, listen, if it's a good child, genuine kosher child, so it's going to disqualify her. But what happens if it's a mamzer? It's not a good kosher child. It was done in a prohibited way. So what? She also, Tamuluma comes to teach you, zera en la, yen la. What does that mean? When you come and you say the zera en la, it's coming to teach you any type of a child. Even a zera pasul is going to disqualify her from what? From having teruma. And therefore, the exact same thing, that's what we come and we learn the exact same thing with the en kasef, that we're also learning the en, since it has the yod, so we're going to come and teach you, right, both halachot. So says the Gemara, since one second. You just came and you just learned, right, the zera en la to two different halachot. Number one, the zera en la, not only children, grandchildren, right, zera zara. And now you're coming and you're telling me that it's even for a zera pasul. Not only zera kasher, zera pasul, what's going on? Answers the Gemara, Zera Zar'a lo yitzricha. Really, bemet for Zera Zar'a, for a grandchild, you don't even need a pasuk. Why? Grandchildren are considered children. Your grandchildren are considered children. So kitzricha. So when there's a pasuk, right, need it, lezera pasul. We're talking about for zera pasul. What does that mean? That means the chidush of zera enla was not coming and teaching you zera enla and with a yod to teach you if you zera zara. That, but bnei banim kebanim, you don't need that. You're talking about zera pasul. That's what it comes to teach you. And therefore, since the extra yod is teaching you zera pasul, because it could have written it without the yod, and that's why you're learning it. You're being doresh ayen la, which is that with an ayin, ayen la, right? Instead of the without with the aleph, and therefore because of the extra yod, so to chinam en kasef, you could have done the exact same thing. Okay, so says the Gemara, "Vetana gufe min alan dedarish hachi." How do we know that our Tana? That's bemet what he does as drasha. That to do with the concept that you could do it without the yod, with the yod. You know, it sounds very, very interesting. You know, without the yod, with the yod. So Amri, they said, K'tiv, it's written, Me'en Bilam haloch himanu. Bilam did not want to come with us. Me'en Bilam. There it was written without a yod. Me'en Bilam. One second. Or Me'en Yivami lakim la'achiv shem b'Yisrael. That he does not want to come and build a house for his brother. That's when he doesn't want to do yibum, so he does chalitza. Dela ketiv behu yod. That it's not written a yod. So therefore, that means in the word me'en, right? There's no yod there. So therefore, the Gemara is understanding both psukim that Bilam did not want to go, or the brother did not want to do, right? The yibum. Okay. So here he says, right? The me'en is not milashon miun, and a milashon me'en en libo chafetz. He does not want to do so. Meaning it's not lema'en, right? It's the opposite. When you want to refrain from doing something, it means you don't want to do it. So it's coming from me'en en ani rotze lasot zeh. I do not want to do it. But when he's saying en, so without a yod. But here it says, right? It says en la. So shema mina, we learn from here. V'zera en la. Shema mina lidrasha udata. So we come and we learn from here that it's teaching us a dirasha. What is a dirasha? That not only zera zera because I didn't need a pasuk, but even zera pasuk. Says the Gemara, v'itzich lemichtav kiddushay alevia, v'itzich lemichtav maaseh yadei alevia. Do you know what do we just learn from Yatzar Chinam and Kasef? Kiddushin. What are we learning now? Right, the maaseh yadei, either from binurei bet avia or v'chim kore et bito ish lemlama. Right. So says the Gemara. Right? Why do we have to read down both? Why do you have to write down that the kesef kiddushin goes to the father, and then you need another pasuk to tell you that the money that she makes goes to her father? So says the Gemara, if it was only written by kiddushin, hava mina, I would have thought to say mishum delo tarcha behu. Right? She didn't do anything. When a woman gets married, she had to do anything, right? Naturally, she's a natural beauty, right? The husband came, he wanted to get married to her. Here it is. She didn't have to work. She didn't have to start toiling and working. So therefore, that for sure goes to the husband, to the father. But I would have thought to say that, listen, if she's not working, I would have thought, listen, it was with her sweat. It should go to her. So, right? So therefore, no, that's why we need an extra pasuk to teach you that it still goes to the father. And if you only taught by the Masechta, because at the end of the day, who does she get the parnasa from? From the father. So she worked and she made money. But 1 second, who's paying for her food? The father. Who's paying for the clothing? The father. So obviously it goes to the father. But kiddushea te me'alma katila. Kiddushin comes from somewhere else. What does that mean? It has nothing. It's coming from another place. It's not like that the father knew that she was going to get the. It's not like mizonot. Something different. I would say that it goes to her. So tzricha. That's why we need two different psukim to teach you. One pasuk to teach you that the kiddushin, Yetzeach Chinam and Kasef, goes to the father. The money of the kiddushin goes to the father of the nara. And number two, that the money of Maaseh Yadeh goes to the father. Either you learn it from Binu Rebbe Tavia, or we retracted. We said no, we learn it from B'chim Koreh Bitoli Ishlema, because that was referring to a Farenda Darim. Depends on the shita. Next, Gufa. We learned in the Braita. It says in the Pasuk, Yatzia Chinam, Elu Yemei Bagrut, En Kasef, Elu Yemei Na'arut, which means that we needed both of the things to teach you two different stages, how she goes free as an Amai Vriya. If it was only written Yatzia Chinam, I would have thought only when she's a Bogeret she goes out free. Now that it says Yatzia Chinam En Kasef teaches you even a Na'ara goes out free. So says the Gemara, V'lichtov Rachmana Na'arut, V'lo Bai Begrut. So just write down En Kasef, which taught you the Na'arut, and Kavachomer the Bagrut. Tell you. That's it. So says the Gemara, Amar Rabba. Rabba comes and he says, Bazeh v'limed al zeh. Meaning, only because of the words V'yatzeh Chinam, I know what En Kasef means. Meaning, once I already know the kavanah that En Kasef, that it's talking about the, because if I only had one, I would have thought that was a Bagrut. Meaning, if I only had En Kasef, what would I have thought? I would have thought that's Bagrut. Now that you have V'yatzeh Chinam, I say V'yatzeh Chinam is Bagrut. Now you have En Kasef. No, En Kasef is on the Na'arut. Only because you have one, you could learn the other one. Because if not, then you wouldn't have known. So says the Gemara, Mid Dahava, we bring a proof to this, that when Bazeh v'limed al zeh, that this one is coming to teach you another one. Mid Dahava toshav v'sachir. Right? What does that mean? There's two different types of a toshav v'sachir, right? By the avadim of a kohen. You have a toshav kohen and a sachir kohen. The Tanyas we learned in the Braita. Toshav is a kinyan, kanui kinyan olam. So toshav is, for example, an Eved Ivri. That's nirtza. You have an Eved Ivri that he has his ear pierced. So the pasuk teaches that even he cannot eat in truma. He's a toshav. Okay, the toshav kohen. Because it says over there by the toshav kohen, it says it doesn't bring down the pasuk. Okay. No, why does it bring down? Here it is. Ubat kohen kitiyeh. No. Vayikra kavbet. Yod. No, we don't have it written here. Okay, the pasuk just says Toshav Kohen v'Sachir lo yochal kodesh. Okay, that's the pasuk. I don't know why it doesn't bring down on the side of Torah or Shalom, but it says Toshav Kohen v'Sachir lo yochal kodesh. So the Toshav Kohen or the Sachir, he cannot eat kodesh. So what is a Toshav Kohen? Toshav Kohen is an Eved Ivri shenirtza. He cannot eat kodesh. Sachir ze kanui kinyan shanim. Stam Eved Ivri. Some Eved Ivri is not leolam. It's not until Yovel. It's shanim, shemitah, and then he gets free. So therefore, he can also not eat it. So says the Gemara, 1 second, Yomar toshav lo yomar sachir. Right? Just say toshav. If a toshav, which is an Eved Ivri nirtza, he's going to be living with me until Yovel for 50 years, and he still cannot eat truma. Kavachomer the sachir. Vani omer, right? V'lo yomar sachir. Vani omer, and I'm going to say, kanui kinyan olam eno ochel. If the guy is going to be with me for the next 50 years and he still cannot eat truma, Kavachomer, the guy that's only with me for a few years that he cannot eat truma, so says the Gemara, ilu ken, if it was only written toshav, haiti omer toshav ze kanui kinyan shanim. Aval kanui kinyan olam ochel. I would have translated that the word toshav means an Eved Ivri stam, which is only for a few years. That's a toshav, right? Basachir. So comes the word sachir and teaches you v'limed al toshav shavli shekol kinyan olam en ochel. So that now the toshav and sachir, now that I have both, I know that the toshav is the one forever, right? Leolam, which is niditza, and the sachir is the one for a few years. So therefore, bazeh v'limed al zeh, meaning I needed both to teach you one, to teach you the other. So Elmaleh Abai comes and he says, midami, can you compare both cases? Hatam over there, tre gufeninu. There are two different bodies. There are two different entities. There's one is a toshav and one is a sachir, but they're two different Eved Ivris. They're two different people. The Chinami ketav rachmana, but the Torah is going to say toshav nirtza lo yochal. V'hadar katavicha idach have a sachir minta dead b'kol. Even if you're going to tell me toshav nirtza, he's not going to eat truma. Still, the pasuk would have said that if it's not going to be nirtza and he's going to be a sachir, it's still going to come as a kavachomer. Uminta dead b'kavachomer tarav katav lakra. And sometimes, even if you can learn it with a kavachomer, sometimes the pasuk will still come and write it out. Elahacha, but over here, chad gufahi. It's the same woman. Why? Ki nafkala bena'arut, bagrut my gabe. If she goes out free by na'arut, so kavachomer by bagrut. Meaning like this. There's a big difference between the two different avadim, because it's two different bodies. There's Eved Ivri number 1, Eved Ivri number 2. Eved Ivri stam and everything nirtzah. Nirtzah is that they did the ratzah, it was no b'mertzah, right? It was no badelet, right? So what happens? There's a big difference. There's two different people. Here it's the same woman. A woman changes from ketana to na'ara to bagrut. So therefore it's a completely different halacha. Elamar Abaye, but rather Abaye says, you're right. Lo nitzrecha, why do I need the pasuk of yatseach chinam? Ella lebeger da'ilonit. For bagrut v'ilonit, because you're right. I didn't need yatseach chinam. I could have said en kasef. And en kasef teaches you about na'arut. And kol sheken on the bagrut. But why do I need them yatseach chinam? Beger of ilonit. Why? Sal kadaita chamina, I would have thought to say, benarut tepuk, bebagrut lo tepuk, that she goes out of the reshut of the master only by na'arut, but not by bagrut. And therefore, in ilonit, she never brings simane na'arut. So therefore, she never goes out. Even if she gets bigil esrim, she never goes out. But she never became a na'ara. Remember, what's an ilonit? An ilonit means that she never has puberty. But you don't call her an ilonit until she gets to the age of 20. Because until the age of the 20, that's when it should become. But she's an ilonit. She's sterile. So therefore, Kamash Malan comes teach you v'yatseach chinam, that even by bagrut ama yotze meshut adon, and therefore an ama ilonit yotza bebagrut. That means a woman becomes 12, and they check her, and she does not hit puberty. So technically, she's still not narut. It could still grow, right? Until the age of 20. So now what happens if it grows at 12 and 2 months? She goes free. That was her narut, right? What happens now? She gets to 12 and a half, and it still didn't grow. So maybe you're going to say, you know what? Maybe she's an ilonit. Why? She doesn't go free. She says, no, she's a beggar of ilonit. So miman avshach, she goes free. Because even if she was an ilonit, she still goes free from yatseach chinam. Beggar ilonit, she also goes free. Okay? Nekuda. So says the Gemara, matkifla more baravashi comes and asks the question, v'lav kavachomer. Says what? The amad that's an ilonit, it's not kavachomer. Umas simanin she'en motziim min shut av. Right? Motziim min shut adon. Bagrut shemotzia min shut av. Eno din shemotzia min shut adon. This is one second. I don't understand. Simanim. What are the simanim? Simanei bagrut, puberty. It takes out from the reshut of the adon. Yes, she was an ama ivriya. She was a ktana. The second she hits puberty, she goes free. When she's by her father, and now she becomes a na'ara, she hits puberty. Does she go out from the reshut of the father? No. She's still the reshut of the father. But when does she go out of the reshut of the father? Bogeret. 12 and a half, she's out of the reshut of the father. 12 and a half. Bagrut. That's why she can get married on her own. She gets some money to her own, something, everything to her own. She's each to her own. So therefore, if Bogrut takes out from the reshut of the father, and Na'arut, meaning the puberty does not, Siman Na'arut does not, right? Here over here, if you're going to tell me that Na'arut does take out completely from the reshut of the husband, meaning the Adon, the master, Kal v'chomer Bagrut should take it out. Kal v'chomer. Elamar Baravashi, but rather more Baravashi says, you're right. So if don't tell me that Yatseach Chinam comes to teach you Beged of Ilonit, but Bagrut anyway should take it out, just like it takes it out from the father. Ela leikar zevina de Ilonit. We're talking about the entire concept that Ilonit is going to be sold as an Amma Bekatnuta, just like everybody else. Because if the Pasuk was only teaching you that the Amma Yotzet B'Simanen Arut, Sal Kadaita Chamina, I would have thought to saying that a girl, the Atya Simanen Arut, that a girl that has Simanen Arut, have a Zvina, it's going to be a good sale. The Lo Atya Simanen Arut, but if she cannot, Lo have a Zvina, it's not going to be a good sale at all. And therefore, even if the father came and he sold her, she never becomes an Amma Ivriya, because she could never become a Na'ara. She can never become such a thing, because she was an Ilonit. So therefore, the sale was not a good sale. Right? Dala de Mubet. Kamash Malan comes teach you V'yatseach Chinam and Kasef. What does it mean V'yatseach Chinam and Kasef? That even though the Ilonit will never bring Simanen Arut, you could still come and sell her as an Amma. That's what it's coming to teach you. That means the sale of an Ilonit, not the coming out free of an Ilonit, because the coming out free of an Ilonit by Bagrut for sure takes it out. It's a Kal v'chomer. Because if it works for the father, Kal v'chomer by the Adon. But here we're talking about the sale. Says the Gemara, well, more Baravashi, and according to more Baravashi, that he comes and he says, the Amar, the love Kal v'chomer, that he said that son of Kal v'chomer, that an Ilonit is going to go out by Bagrut. Ha-mina minta that by Kal v'chomer tarach v'katuv l'kra. Says what? Something that we're going to come and and we're going to write it down, the pasuk is actually going to come and write it down if you could learn from a kavachomen. So if so, even though you could learn from a kavachomen, the pasuk still will come and you'll still write it. Why? If you could learn from a kavachomen, why is the pasuk going to tell it to you? So says the Gemara, that's only if you cannot answer it in any other way, which means we do not find any dirasha. But if you could answer it in another way, it's better to answer, which means like this. In our case, since you could still answer it, that the pasuk is coming to teach you that you could sell the daughter as an ilonit, it's better to say that and not to say that the pasuk was stam writing something that you could learn with the kal v'chomer. Meaning, it's better to learn it in a certain way than to say stam that the pasuk wrote it, even though you could have learned it in kal v'chomer. So we learned it that it's to do with the beged, right? To do with the sale, even though you could still learn it as a kal v'chomer. Says the Gemara, the Tana Maitila Mehacha. Says the Gemara, 1 second. Our Tana is going to learn Kiddushe Kesef from here, where it says, right, V'yatziach Hinam en Kasef. The Tanya, as we learned in a Braita, right, it says by Kiddushin, Ki yikach ish isha uvalah. When a man's going to take a woman and he's going to have relations with her, if he doesn't find favor in his eyes, when he's going to find an ervat davar, here we're talking about kicha. Remember, kikach. What is kicha? Lashon Kiddushin. Yeah, so he comes and he says, en kicha ela bekesef. He comes and he says, the concept of kicha is always with kesef. Lechen omer, as it says, natati kesef hasadeh, kach mimeni. You're going to take the kesef hasadeh. Yeah? See, it's very hot in here. Now going to sleep. Balo dinu. So he comes and he says, right? It's a din. What is the din? He comes and he says like this. He says, Uma ama hivriya. Just like by ama hivriya. He says, she'ena niknet bebiya, niknet bekesef, and ama hivriya. If somebody comes and he has relations with her, does he acquire her? No. It's only with money. So he says, zo sheniknet bebiya, a regular woman which is married through biya. It's a kavachomer. Meaning, if you just told me right now that you could learn it from a kavachomer, why do I need a pasuk? You're telling me a pasuk, v'yatzeach hinam en kasef. And the fact that we said en kasef with a yod, so then it's ayin, so therefore there's a case to that, because we already learned v'yatzeach hinam was bogeret, en kasef with narut. No. And you could have wrote without a yod, now you wrote with a yod, so it's ayin. Ayin means that there's the dom doesn't get the money, but the father gets the money. So now kesef kiddushin goes to the father. Chazak u'baruch. Kavachomer. What's a kavachomer? Bayama ivriya. Does biyah help? No. What helps? Money. Kesef. The father, well, not the father, but the husband, right? What helps? Right? Obviously, what helps? Yeah. What helps is biyah. So kavachomer, money should help. Right? So what's going on then? So answers the Gemara, no. You know why? Yevama tochiach. What's the Yevama tochiach? Yevama is going to prove to us, sheniknet bebiyah, venu niknet bekesef. There's going to be a case where biyah helps and money does not help. Because we wanted to bring a proof that if biyah helps, kal v'chomer, that money helps. The Gemara says, I've got the opposite. I have a case where biyah helps and money does not help. What is the opposite? Yevama. Yevama is only through biyah. It's not through kesef. So therefore, don't bring me a proof that kilu, whenever biyah helps, money always helps. It's not true. So says the Gemara, Mali v'ma sheken nikre b'shtar. Tomar bezushin. What about shtar? What about shtar? He says, once a yivama, it doesn't help shtar, but here it does help shtar. Talmud ki kach. What does that mean? When it says ki kach ish isha, comes to teach you that you're allowed to do kiddushin with money. So says the Gemara, halama likra. Why do we need a pasuk? Ha'atyala. I thought that you added from a kal v'chomer. So Amar Ravashi says, mishum diika lemima meikara dedina pircha. He says, why? I could actually ask you a question on the entire kal v'chomer. Remember, one of the differences between a gzera shava and kal v'chomer is a kal v'chomer, I could disprove the kal v'chomer in 1 second. The second I disprove the kal v'chomer, that's it. A gzera shava, okay, it all depends. If it's mufnem l'shnet tzadim, if it's empty on both sides, on one side, can you ask a question on the gzera shava? But a kal v'chomer, I disprove the kal. What's the disprove of the kal v'chomer? He says like this: Meicha kamaitet. Where are you bringing the proof of kiddushin bekesef? He says me'ama ivriya. He says ma le'ama ivriya sheken yotzea bekesef. The ama ivriya, she goes out with money. Tomar bezu sheken yotzea bekesef. How does the ama ivriya come in? With money. How does she go out? With money. She also goes out with money. A woman, how does she go in? With money. Can she go out with money? She doesn't go with money. She needs a get. Her money doesn't help. She can maybe pay him enough money to give him the get, but at the end of the day, it's a get. It's not the money. So therefore, Talmud Lomar comes to teach you the pasuk. Ki kach ish. What does it mean? Ki kach ish comes to teach you that she's going to be acquired through money. V'yitzich lemichtav yatziach hinam. V'yitzich lemichtav ki kach ish. So now the Gemara says, I need both. I need yatziach hinam, right? Which is basically that a woman is mitkadesha b'kesef, right? And I need ki kach ish. Why? Yikatav rachmana bezif. The Torah would have written ki kach havamina kiddushin diav lebal didahav. I would have thought to say that if it was only written ki kach, the money goes to her and not to the father. So katav rachmana v'yatzach hinam, that it goes to the father. V'yikatav rachmana, but if the Torah only written v'yatzach hinam, havamina, I would have thought that havamina. What happens if the woman gives the money to the man? Right? I would have thought to say have a kiddushin. It's a good kiddushin. Katav rachmana, that's why it says ki kach velo ki tikach. The man has to marry the woman. The woman does not marry the man. That's why, by the way, one of the reasons why Rav Moshe Feinstein says that when there's a marriage, even if the woman wants to give the man a ring, she cannot give the man the ring under the chuppah. After the chuppah, do whatever you want, but not under the chuppah. Why? Because if you do it under the chuppah, it looks like she's buying him just like he buys her. And it doesn't help. So therefore, after the chuppah, whatever you want, but not under the chuppah. Under the chuppah, he gives the ring. He's the one that's acquiring her. She doesn't acquire him. Yeah, very important. So the same thing. Ki ikach and not ki tikach. Because if it was written ki tikach, she could give him the money. She gets married to him. She gave him the money. Do you marry me with his money? She paid him off a good bond. Because says, you know what? Maybe it's worth it. Yeah, she's bringing in enough money. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Fine. Says the Gemara. Says the Gemara. Yeah. Says the Gemara. Right? The uvala. What does it mean? Right? What does it mean? Right? The entire concept of uvala. Yeah. What does that mean? So he comes and he says, by Kiddushin it says, right? Kikachi shisha uvala. Melamed shenikne bebiyah. When it says the words uvala, bila. It's what talking about the biyah. So therefore she could be acquired. So says the Gemara, valodinim. It's a kal vachomer. Uma yevama shenikne bekesef nikne bebiyah. Zu shenikne bezeh. I don't understand. A yevama cannot be acquired by kesef. How is she acquired? Through biyah. So kal vachomer. If this woman could be acquired through kesef, because you just said ki yikach, kicha mistefron, someone kesef. So kal vachomer it could be done by biyah. Yeah, by you. So therefore, why do you need to bring it down? So answers the Gemara, Ama Ivriya Tochiach. Ama Ivriya is going to prove you otherwise. Why? Sheniknet, right? Bekesef, ve'en niknet bebiyah. And Ama Ivriya is bought by money, but not for biyah. So therefore, I had to bring down biyah by a regular woman, because if not, I would have thought to say that it's only kesef, not biyah. So I had to bring down biyah, uvala. Because if not, I have Ama Ivriya. You bring me Yevama, I'm bringing Ama Ivriya. Each one has one. By the Yevama, it's only biyah, not kesef. By Ama Ivriya, it's only kesef, no biyah. So therefore, I had to bring down both by a regular woman. Also kesef and also biyah. So says the Gemara, 1 second. Mala Ama Ivriya shen kinyala shemishut. Tomar bazush kineshut. 1 second. It's not, you cannot compare both cases. Why? The Yevama is for Yishut. It's to marry her. So for there, biyah helps, and kesef does not help. Ama Ivriya was not for Yishut. It was for Anama. It was for the kesef. So if don't bring me a proof from there, Talmud Lomar comes teach you uvala, to teach you that if shal lekadesh through biyah. So says Gemara, why do you need a pasuk? I just gave you a kal vachomer. I just gave you a kal vachomer from Yevama, and you can't bring me a proof from Ama Ivriya, because Ama Ivriya is different. It wasn't a shemishut. It was some as a slave, as a maid servant. So I answer the Gemara. Rashi says, I've got a question against the kal vachomer from the beginning. Where are you going to learn that you could do kiddushin through biyah? Mi Yevama, mali Yevama sheken zekuka ve'omedet. A Yevama, there's zika. You guys remember Yevamot a little bit? Zika. You know what Yevamot is? Right? There's zika. What does that mean? She's attached. There's already strings attached. Meaning the second that the husband died, she's attached to the Yavam. And therefore he says, Tomar bezu shen zekuka. This woman, she's not attached to him. He comes, she's not zekuka bichlal. Talmud Lomar comes teach you uvala. What does uvala teach you? The what that you're allowed to come and you're allowed to do kiddushin through biyah. We continue with tomorrow.